Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of From the Blind Spot, presented by me, Zach. Sorry. All right, so today is March 7th, 2025. Sorry, haven't thought about the year much, but we are officially 1 week away from F1 75, the 75th season of F1. It's going to be a wild week building up to it, but I'm very excited. On today's podcast, we're going to be talking about the news that came out today, March 7th. I'll get into that after I intro what else we're going to be doing today. What I missed. So, obviously, I took off last week of podcasting. Getting to go over what happened last week, 2025 predictions, and what's to come for the podcast for next week, and what I'll be doing next week, this weekend, that kind of just quick overview of what's to come. So, let's get into it. Today's news, March 7th. The dropping of season 7 of Drive to Survive. Drive to Survive is the Netflix series where they talk about what's going on in F1, what happened last year. It comes out a week before the new season, just covering what happened last year and all the drama that comes with that. So, I'm going to list off all of the titles and kind of give you a quick overview of kind of what they were. The first episode was Business as Usual, and Business as Usual kind of dives into the biggest news of last year, which was Lewis Hamilton leaving Mercedes and moving to Ferrari. That's why I have a Ferrari shirt here. One of the biggest moves of all time, probably in F1 history, but it kind of goes into that and probably gets both sides of what Lewis was thinking. That's the first episode. So kind of a big news. It's been a while since we've kind of thought about it, I guess, but big news, first episode. The second episode is where I think the season kind of gets a little bit better. It's called Frenemies is the second episode. And it goes into Max and Lando Norris's kind of friendship, but also like on track rivalry that they were having last year. As we remember back, like to I think it was the Austrian Grand Prix where Max and Lando get into a bit of an accident and they spin off, and George Russell ends up winning that race when both of them were jostling back and forth for the points to win that race. And that actually knocked Lando out of the race as well and sent Max, I think, to P6. So that's the second episode. I think that's going to be one of the better ones because I think it's going to be mainly Lando's side because Max doesn't really partake in Drive to Survive anymore after they kind of made it too dramatic for him. So, Frenemies, I think, will be one of the better episodes of this season. And then the next episode is Looking Out for Number One. I think this episode is going to be okay. It's probably it is more about how Mercedes goes about with the Lewis Hamilton leaving the team and trying to make George Russell that number one driver for the team. Obviously, for 2025, he is that number one driver because they have Kimi Antonelli as driver number 2 and Valtteri Bottas as reserve driver, or driver number 3, I guess. But yeah, looking out for number 1, I think Toto is going to be pretty big in this episode, obviously because Lewis and George were kind of tussling last year for that number 1 position. And I think Mercedes was like, yeah, we're just going to have George be that guy. He is that guy. He was that guy. He still is that guy. But yeah, the fourth episode I think is going to be a fan favorite. It's Carlos Sainz. Not his last name, but like literally Sainz with a team. I think like obviously this one's going to be talking a lot with Carlos and what like he was thinking because he was obviously the one being ousted from Ferrari and moving to a new team. And unfortunately for Carlos, like a lot of things happened. A lot of teams were signing everyone, re-signing everyone, signing rookies. And unfortunately, he had to go to a team that was Last year was a backmarker because I think they took ninth last year in the World Constructors standings. So Carlos, it probably talks about like, oh, what's best for him. It probably has James big brain vowels in it. And like kind of has like their dynamic a little bit, I bet. Probably has Alex in it as well because Alex is like people like Alex and he's obviously a part of Williams, so he kind of has to like talk about like the revolving door of probably like teammates that he's had at Williams because he's had who was it? Go Tiffy, he's had or Nicholas Latifi, and then he's had Franco Colapinto and then Logan Sargent, and now he has Carlos Sainz, an actual comparable or not comparable, maybe comparable. I don't know. An equal skill driver as his teammate now. So now there's not a real clear number one at Williams, but that's what we're going to find out this year. But back to the Drive to Survive, Carlos Sainz. Sainz. Wow, that's a really clever title. I like that one. But anyway, I think that's going to be a fan favorite. Everyone likes Carlos. He's an upstanding guy. And yeah, what's not to like about Williams and Carlos Sainz teaming up? The next one is, pardon me if I butcher this, it's Le Cruz of Leclerc. This one's obviously going to be about Charles Leclerc winning at Monza probably and definitely at Monaco. So I feel like that's what this episode's going to focus on. It's 48 minutes long, so not much to like talk about. It's probably going to be a lot of interviewing him, a lot of Fred Vasseur, probably a lot of Carlos too, because it's like him and Charles were like pretty close friends, and I feel like they have to obviously talk to them both and be like, hey, super happy for you, bro. Now this next episode 126, is I think a good one. This episode is called Wheels of Fortune. The premise of this episode is about how McLaren has a winning car, but unfortunately their strategies for races and race weekends does not allow them to win every race. So it's kind of like you're gambling every weekend with your strategies because you don't know what's going to happen in the race. Like obviously there were races where Lando could have won, but unfortunately like they made one bad strategy call. They pitted too early, stuff like that. And it's obviously also a reference to Zach Brown being a Wheel of Fortune winner. That's how he got into racing. He won Wheel of Fortune as like a teenager, and then that funded his racing career to get him into F1, basically, the CEO of McLaren. So basically, the guy went from winning Wheel of Fortune to being the CEO of McLaren down the line. Wild. Just an absolutely wild thing to happen. So obviously that will be a pretty interesting episode. It'll be probably a lot of Oscar, Zach, and Lando like giving their opinions about like, yeah, this sucked, but we got to keep moving forward. I underlined it. It's a borderline good episode. I think it could be good though because I think it will have like a lot of enunciation and like back to back. Could have won. So we'll probably get a Will Buxton like, you need to win races to win the championship. Thanks, Will. Who's in IndyCar now, so maybe he's not in it. I think he's in it for the season 7. Probably not for season 8 though. All right, next episode I have underlined is In the Heat of the Night. I think Netflix cooked here. I haven't watched any of these. I am going to preface this now as I'm talking about episode number 7. Yeah, episode number 7. I haven't watched any of these. I kind of read a summary and I'm like, okay, this is a good concept. I think Netflix gave this concept the best one. In the Heat of the Night follows, I think, the 4 or 5 drivers that were like friends through karting and like grew up together. So that's Alex Albon, George Russell, Lando Norris, and I think like Pierre Gasly or Max Verstappen, like those 4 or 5, because like they all grew up. They're all the same age, all grew up around the same time, all got into F1 around the same time as well. So it's kind of like a behind the scenes of how all of those guys get together, which I think is a great idea that Netflix did. Now, of course, I don't know how well they did it because I haven't watched the episode and I don't know like to what extent behind the scenes access these guys gave. But it follows them for the Singapore Grand Prix, which obviously is one of the warmest races. It's very humid, very hot. It's one of the more demanding ones. Obviously, there's a lot of ice bath content that comes out of it, and I'm kind of excited to watch this one because it's a different kind of like episode from Drive to Survive. It's not all the drama. It's more about just these 4 dudes being friends, and I'm kind of excited to see that because it's a new aspect of Drive to Survive that they haven't rolled out before. The next episode I have not underlined. It's Elbows Out. I don't think this one will be a good episode just because like it's going to talk about how Red Bull, I got the shirt here. Red Bull talks about like, all right, what was the episode? It goes through Red Bull's dominance last year in 2023, or not last year, a few years ago in 2023, and talks about how they were struggling in 2024. Like Sergio Perez wasn't doing well. Like he was so far behind Max, but Max was still winning the majority of the races. So it's kind of like Max has to kind of get his elbows out and play defense with other racers as he's fending for another World Drivers' Championship, World Constructors' Championship. So it might be a good episode. I have no idea if Max is in any of these because, as I mentioned before, he doesn't like to be in Drive to Survive. He doesn't really like this dramatized F1 content that Netflix has been putting out. But everyone else likes it. So it's like, Max, just get in on it. I don't know if he's in it or not. I hope he is because he just brings another a good layer to the show that I think, as like being a top driver, he should. Okay. Episode 9 is called Undernoon Management, and it's about Gunther Steiner leaving Drive to Survive and Haas. Moment of silence. Thank you. Gunther was a staple of this show on Netflix. He literally made this show what it is. Literally, every time Gunther was on the call with Gene Haas, it's like, I know, Gene, we're working on it. Fucking hell. Like, I'm working on it, bro. Like, all those calls were just insane because Haas has had up and downs since 2016 when they joined the grid, and they're still the smallest team. They finally have like some good momentum with getting in with Toyota Racing and like having some good drivers. They have Ollie Behrman, who's a rookie that has already great experience, already scored in F1. Esteban Ocon, he's a seasoned vet in F1. Like I think it that's obviously looking forward in 2025. But under new management, kind of talks about Gunther leaving, being fired, and Komatasu. Sorry if I butchered that name. He was the new like team principal for Haas. So we'll see how he handles the phone calls with Gene. I don't think they're going to be as good as Gunther's. And Gunther was great. We'll see how this goes. I have it underlined because it will be something interesting and new for Drive to Survive. And the last one is Endgame. This one talks about, I think, just the end of the season kind of heating up and like how it was kind of close at the end of the season, but like Max kind of had it for the drivers, but McLaren needed certain things to get their first Constructors' Championship in like 20 years. So, and that's it about Drive to Survive. I'll be watching all of them this weekend, trying to get through all 10. I know it's 480 hours of television, but it's something I got to do for content. Other news from March 7th, I know we're still on the March 7th news, is that Cadillac is officially a part of the F1 grid for 2026. They got the green light, they got the thumbs up, they're ready to roll. They got their headquarters in, I think, Charlotte, North Carolina, and also a headquarters in Silverstone, where F1 has like all of their big teams are like near Silverstone. So GM and TWG Motorsports got the bid. It's in, it's good. They'll be running Ferrari engines in 2026, but trying to get GM power trains in the future. So I think GM is supposed to be like 2027, 2028. This is some bad podcasting. I didn't do my research about when GM will have their powertrains ready, but it's coming. GM is coming. This is the first new team. Cadillac will be the first new team since 2016 when Haas joined the grid, as I mentioned before. So it's been about 9 years since F1 went from 9 to 10 teams, and now they're going from 10 to 11, which I think is great for the sport. It's going to add two new drivers, possibly an American driver, which I kind of hope it's Alex Newgarden. He's just a stud in IndyCar. He has Formula 4 experience in England, so hopefully he can hop on this train. And God forbid, this is one person I really, really, really want in F1 is Pato O'Ward. So if they go two IndyCar guys, they cop a guy from McLaren, they take Alex Newgarden, and they're like, hey, you guys are the faces of F1, Cadillac F1 team for 2026. Those are two amazing drivers in IndyCar. Like, unfortunately, I don't think that they're going to go with a guy from IndyCar. I think they're going to go probably Valtteri Bottas, cop him from his reserve driver position. He's a really seasoned guy. I think Cadillac's going to have the money, like GM, TWG Motorsport, and like they're going to get a lot of American sponsors because Cadillac is an American brand that's been around for like 90 plus years or 80 plus years. I don't know. But it's going to be like, I think they're going to get brand deals. I think they're going to get title sponsors. It's going to be a good thing in 2026 when we add an 11th team. But F1 is going to need to change some things. They're going to have to either do 2 qualifying sessions, which I think would be cool, because then it's like you see like back markers and front running cars like together and like split up over like 11 cars on track, which obviously like 20 cars on track for Q1 is insane, especially when it's a shorter course or like laps. So how they're going to do it with 22 cars, I don't know, but it's exciting. It's a new team. I'll probably it will be one of my top tier teams. I'll probably jump McLaren. It'd probably go Cadillac, Williams. Don't tell Williams that though. But yeah, looking forward to see that in 2026 for the 2026 season. Okay. I have now finally covered what I wanted to talk about. Oh crap, that was like 18 minutes of today's news. But I guess GTS is big. Now I want to talk about what I missed. F1 testing. This was like at the end of about a week ago at the end of February in Bahrain. 4 things I want to talk about. It rained in Bahrain. This is just a really quick thing. It rained in Bahrain. No one really thought about it. I think they lost a little bit of time, or they red flagged the session so that they would get extra time later for testing. Only a few teams, I think 2 teams, brought like wet and intermediate tires. Wild thought to even think about bringing rain tires to Bahrain in a desert. Let's just Bahrain. It has rain in the name. It doesn't really rain there. Another wild thing that happened was day 1 of testing. The lights went out. They had a power cut. Communications were lost. They red flagged the session. Once they got that figured out, they got the cars back on track. another thing that happened, another red flag occurred, not because of a driver crash, but because there was a bus on the active track. A bus on the track. Let's think about this. You have a vehicle that goes over 200 miles an hour, doing ridiculous, crazy speeds in corners, and can lose traction any moment, even with all these rookies out on the track. Like, there's a lot of rookies. They're not fully experienced in these cars. They're not pushing 100% probably. But it's still dangerous, and anywhere can spin at a time. But to have a bus out there at the same time when these are going is completely unsafe. I don't know what's going on there. They're obviously doing an investigation that I know about. But what the hell? Like, you guys are putting people's lives at risk just because someone was out of line on testing. And I know it's testing, but still, you got to have these safety measures every place, for every race, every test, every practice session. Safety has to be paramount for these drivers in F1, especially. Now that my safety rant is over, I will now continue to be a Williams super fan. Carlos Sainz is the best driver in F1. He put a Williams the fastest in testing. I repeat, a Williams fastest in testing. I'm not doing a Williams minute here in this episode because there's not much Williams news to talk about. Although, a Williams P1 in testing. Faster than Ferrari. Faster than a Red Bull. Faster than a McLaren. Carlos Sainz is a god. He deserves to be treated like one at Williams with James Vowles' big throbbing brain. But, yeah. I know it doesn't mean much. It's preseason testing. Typically the fastest car isn't the fastest on the track, but still. It might be the only time I get to see a Williams at the end of a day at the top of a session. So, it's great to see. I'm glad Carlos has been adjusting so well to the car. Like, it's a great thing to see. I'm happy for him. And yeah, going forward, Williams is going to have a great year. Okay. Wait, there was one other thing. Oh, and the other small thing that we might have missed in the last week or two of not podcasting is that Monaco is now mandating 2 stops. Could be interesting. Could be exciting. I guess we'll find out. It's just they did this like a little bit not long ago when they mandated 2 stops at, I think it was some Middle East race course, where they had to do it because of tire degradation issues or something. But they're mandating it because they're trying to implement new strategies, more swapping of places, things like that. But it does, like, you could stop the first 10 laps of the race, like, put on softs, get a great start, switch tires to a medium, go for a stint, and then at like lap 20, change to hards and just ride it out. But I don't know. It could rain, which would make it even more exciting if those teams like went that strategy. I don't know. It's a strategy race now, so it could be great. Still a qualifying race, still a strategy race. Could be exciting, could not be. We'll find out this year. A few months, actually. I think that's at the end of May is when they do that race. So I don't have an exact date. End of May. Let's leave it at that. Moving on. 2025 predictions. Now, this is the biggest part of this podcast, of this episode. I will be doing World Constructor Championship standing predictions, World Drivers Championship standing predictions, and then I am going to talk about my bingo card. I will give you maybe a few squares, but you're going to have to check the socials, check my TikTok, check my Instagram for From the Blind Spot for the 2025 bingo card, and I will be updating it week by week. So please bear with me. It's going to take me a little bit. I have to use Google Slides to make it look pretty good. But I'm going to do a less intricate thing this year. But yeah, hang tight. You'll get a bingo card this year. All right. World Constructor Standings. We're going to start off with this one because it's easier. It's only 10 teams. There's front runners, back markers. It's easier to predict. My P10 for 2025. World Constructors Champions. Kick Sauber. Enough said. Let's move on to P9. No, I'll talk a little bit about it. I feel like Sauber, kick steak, whatever you want to be known as. They're going to be a back marker still. I think they're probably trying to save money, save time for Audi when Sauber becomes Audi next year. They're going to probably save some time for that, or save some money for that. I mean, obviously, like if you're P10 in the constructors, you'll get more wind tunnel time. I don't know if this is going to help them for this year. They do have a rookie driver, Gabriel Bortoleto. I don't know how he's going to do. Obviously, Nico Hulkenberg is a good driver. Like he has he's great in qualifying. Sometimes the race wasn't there for Haas. Obviously, this is a different team, so I don't know how he's going to do. But I still think that Sauber is going to be last. P9. This P9 is probably a very bad prediction, but it's a prediction that I want to happen. VCARB will be P9 on the fact that Isaac Hadjar might not be the best driver. We haven't seen him race in an F1. We've obviously seen him in testing, probably some practice sessions. I don't know how he's going to do. I think Yuki's going to have to carry this team to P9, but I think that it's going to be very close between Williams, Haas, and VCARB. Obviously, this is like a very fun place to look at towards the end of the season because these teams are back markers, and when they score points, it's great when they score points because that means that either a team didn't do well or one of their racers had a really, really, really good race. So, VCARB P9 being carried by Yuki Tsunoda, who might have a sore spot with Red Bull. P8 Haas. Obviously, again, you got two good drivers, Esteban Ocon and Oliver Bearman. I think they're going to do better. They're going to score points. Their qualifying will be pretty good. I don't know about their race pace, though, but we'll see. They'll probably capture that P10 spot every once in a while. But yeah, I'm repping Haas today, so I have them P8. They might not be happy about that if they ever see this. P7, I got Williams, two great drivers. Car might not be this good. I do have them pretty high, but I'm a Williams fan. I want them to do well, and I'm looking for Carlos Sainz and Alex Albon to just be dominant in those cars. Like, I hope they both average like P11, P12. They average that, so that means that they're not finishing dead last or DNFing a lot. But yeah, I got Williams. P6, Alpine. Alpine had one good race last year where they finished P2 and P3. But I think that Pierre Gasly, Jack Doohan, and Franco Colapinto are going to probably dominate in an Alpine. They were successful towards the end of last season. This is probably a bad pick, but I think that they can. I think Pierre is probably due for some podiums. I know it's wild to say in an Alpine when the top 5 teams are stacked, but he found it last year. Why can't he do it again? Alpine P6. And now the top 5 are. I'm just going to say P5, P4, P5, Aston Martin, P4, Mercedes. One good driver, one bad driver for Aston Martin, one good driver, don't know about the other driver for Mercedes. I think this is where the teams are going to fall. You got, what's his name? The great designer. Oh my goodness. You got Newey at Aston Martin. He's going to be great. Mercedes, I think, won't be competing top 3, but they're going to do just fine this year. My P3, Red Bull. Now, I know Max Verstappen can probably carry this team to a P2, maybe even a P1 in the Constructors' Championship. But Liam Lawson, I don't know. He is probably going to be better than Sergio was last year, but you don't know. He could be better, could be worse. The thing is with Sergio, he was consistent. Like, he rarely spun out. All of Max's other teammates have spun out. Alex Albon, spun. Pierre Gasly, spun. I don't even know his other teammate because it's been Sergio for so long. So that's all I got to say about that. I just don't think that Max can carry him all the way. But if Liam Lawson is really good in that Red Bull, I think they can probably win a Constructors' Championship. Because it just depends on the car's pace then. If both drivers are good and the car's pace is good, Red Bull's going to be up there. P2, Ferrari. Great drivers, great car. I don't think they can beat P1 though. McLaren, rocket ship of a car. The thing handles the corners so well. So well. And they got 2 studs behind the wheels. Lando Norris, Oscar Piastri. No one's going to beat them. Obviously, Ferrari has those studs too. All-timer Lewis Hamilton. Probably the next big name in racing, Charles Leclerc. But I don't think Ferrari's got it. I think it's going to be close. But McLaren's got this one, I think. They're going back, baby. McLaren going back to back. But yeah. So that's the predictions. Pretty good predictions, I think. We'll see how they go at the end of the year. Now for the World Drivers' Championship. I'm going to go a little bit quicker through this because I'm already at 32 minutes. Oh, crap. This is a good episode. All right. P21 for the drivers. Yes, I know there's only 20, but we're going to risk it for a P21. Jack Doohan, he's going to be out of that seat within about maybe 5 or 7 races. P20, Gabriel Bortoleto, Sauber sucks. P19, Nico Hulkenberg, Sauber sucks. P18, Isaac Hadjar. It kind of has to work with my V car being P9. I don't see him being very good. I don't see him scoring many points. But I don't know. He could be like a really good backup driver. We'll find out. It's kind of hard to guess with these rookies. P17, Esteban Ocon. Once again, have to go with Haas being not as good as Williams. And I think Oliver Behrman's going to be better than Esteban Ocon. Hot take. Take it or leave it. P16, Yuki Tsunoda. Once again, don't know how this is going to turn out. I feel like the V-Carb drivers are probably a bad bet for P16 and P18, but we're going to see because I'm a Williams stan and I like them better. P15, Alpine, Franco Colapinto. Wild guess here. But I think Franco's going to be driving in at least, hopefully, over 10 or 12 races this year for Alpine. On loan from Williams. Williams got money there. Speaking of Williams, P14, Alex Albon. I think he's going to have a great year. Obviously, the car may not be the best, but I feel like him and Carlos working together to get that car set up perfectly for race weekends. That's what we're talking about. That's what we're hoping for. P13. Now this might be a little too high for him. Oliver Behrman. I am high on Oliver Behrman. I don't know if it's an English bias because I watch the English streams on ESPN. But I'm going him P13, P12. Carlos Sainz. He's got a great recipe for pancakes. If you don't know the background behind that, look it up. Carlos Sainz pancakes. But I have faith in Carlos. I have faith in Williams, and that's why I have him so high. P11. Pierre Gasly. Reasons are that I think he might find a podium. P10, Lance Stroll. This, I think I have Lance a little too high just because of Adrian Newey. He might have a better car. And I don't know. I don't know how the car is going to be at the beginning or the end of the season. I just think that maybe Lance will, like, it's a big difference between Formula A and Formula B in Formula 1. But I'm saying Lance Stroll, P10. This is probably bad. P9, Kimi Antonelli. I don't think Kimi is, I think he's going to have struggles at the start of his F1 career, but I think towards the end of 2025, he's going to be better, and he's going to have, good things going for him. So that's why I have him. That's where he's going to be. P9, Kimi Antonelli. Don't hate me, Kimi. I'm sorry. P8, Fernando Alonso. I like Fernando. I think he's obviously a great racer. I hope he finds a win this year. But yeah, Fernando, P8. P7 is George Russell. Like I said again, Mercedes is going to be fourth in the constructors, so I gotta have him probably just out of the top, in the top 8, but not in the top 6, where those 3 teams, those racers, are going to be. I have Liam Lawson, P6. Obviously, Liam has a lot of experience in F1 compared to the other rookies or newcomers, I guess. I don't know what you call Liam. He's not a rookie, but he's technically a rookie. So Liam, P6. Charles Leclerc is P5. Reasoning for putting Charles here is that you got both McLarens, you got Lewis Hamilton, and you got Max Verstappen ahead of him. It's hard to pick between these 5, but I think all 5 of these drivers are going to be in contention, I think, with 5 races to go this season. The Drivers' Championship this season, I think, is going to be insane because you're going to have 6 drivers on 3 great teams competing for 1 trophy. I think that's going to be one of my bold predictions, that we're going to have Charles Leclerc, Max Verstappen, Lewis Hamilton, Oscar Piastri, and Lando Norris be up there at the end of the year, all competing for the World Drivers' Championship. Now, speaking of that, the 4th driver, I don't think is going to get there. Oscar Piastri. I think I probably should have flopped Charles and Oscar at this point, but Oscar is P4, Charles is P5. I just think that Oscar's got that better car. That's all. Lewis Hamilton, P3, one of the greatest drivers of all time. Obviously, he's in a Ferrari now. And I think he's going to win a lot of races. Probably more than Charles. I think he's probably going to win at Monza. That'd be awesome. Just imagine Lewis Hamilton winning in a Ferrari at Monza. Just imagine. Now, my top 2. It's going to be the super closest between these 2, the frenemies. I have Lando P1, Max P2. Lando Norris is going to finally get his World Drivers' Championship, the thing that he's been working on his entire life. It's going to pay off this year. 2025 is Lando's year. Let's say it with me. 2025 is Lando Norris's year. It's his year. He's due. And that's my rankings. Now, let's kind of talk about my bingo card. Throw in some things that I have written down. It's a 5x5 bingo card, obviously. Some of the big things are, I have obviously Norris and McLaren, World Drivers Championship, World Constructors Champion. Max and George continue their beef. I hope this happens. God, those 2 are so funny beefing together. Jack Doohan, no P14 or better. Williams, P7 or better in World Constructors Championship. Now that's a lot of hope. That's a lot there. Someone swears in the first race. I hope this happens. I hope there's a fine and they're just like, yeah, we're going to not do this anymore because everyone swears the first race. Double red flag, 3 safety cars or VSCs in one race. Yeah, that's just like some of like I think I gave you more than 5, but it's just some of the bingo squares. Check, like I said, check the socials for those. Sorry, I have to go back to my notes for the rest of this episode. I think that's it about my predictions. Yeah. What's to come? So, from the blind spot, we're going to be doing a new format this year. We're going to be doing 2 episodes per week. So, the first episode will be released probably Monday, reviewing what happened the previous weekend for the previous races of F1. And then the second episode each week, which will probably be like Thursday or Friday, I still have to get a date on that, will be about the upcoming race and my predictions for that race. So like P1 through 5, P10, some predictions and my betting odds. I'm gonna be not betting odds, but I'm gonna give like betting advice. I'm gonna try and kind of keep track of that. I am gonna preface that I am not in a state where I can do betting, so I am not risking my own money, but I am gonna give you ideas and ideas about what you could bet on. Look forward. Next week, I will be having 2 episodes. Obviously, a race preview for Australia and a Drive to Survive recap. Obviously, I gave you all the episodes, but I'm going to watch them now, and then I'm going to give you a recap. That episode will be about coming out Tuesday, probably, because it's, like I said, 480 hours of television. It's a lot. Watch for a TikTok series. I'll be doing initial reactions for every Drive to Survive episode, giving them a rating 1 to 10. And so, yeah, keep a lookout for that this weekend on the TikTok page. Last things are I'm going to plug the YouTube from the Blind Spot on YouTube. We got 2 subscribers. That's huge. It's for only having 2 episodes. I will be having better quality video and audio coming soon. Right now, I'm obviously using this microphone, which is great, and I'm using my webcam that's built into my computer. I will be trying to use a Canon camera. I just have to figure out how to do audio on that. But yes, better visuals, better quality coming for you, the listeners, and the watchers on the YouTube. Obviously, go subscribe on YouTube, like on YouTube as well. Go check out on Spotify. Yeah, like and follow on YouTube and not YouTube and TikTok and Instagram. Thank you all for listening and or watching from the Blind Spot, presented by Zach. And shout out John, made you listen to the end. All right.